Uganda gye twagala, the Uganda we want. Nze Mulanzi, nzikiriza nti oli bulungi. Lunaku bwe lutube lutambudde era tukkiriza nti naawe oluyiseemu bulungi. Tugenda kubeera naawe mpaka essaawa 4 bwe tujja okukwasiza ate omutume wa Kristo ne program Lwasa Mayinja. Essaawa bwe ziwera 3 tuba tuzze ne program eno Uganda gye twagala, the Uganda we want. Era nga tubuuza ekibuuzo nti enkola y'emirimu mu gavumenti n'obuvunaanyizibwa bwo bikuwa ekifaananyi kya Uganda gye twagala. Nga bwe twogera n'abakulu bano nzikiriza nti gwe ali eyo obeera naawe okifumiitirizaako kuba olina omulimu ogw'okukola nga gwe Munnayuganda okakasa nti otuuka ku Uganda gy'oyagala. Tukozesa ennimi 2 era gwatugoberera tukkiriza nti ojja sobola okufollowinga oba okutugoberera mpola mpola. Abali ku Facebook mwebale kutugoberera Dream TV Uganda, Instagram @Dream TV Uganda ne Twitter @Dream TV Uganda. Mu ngeri emu nammwe abatugoberera ku YouTube Dream TV Uganda. Kyemukola ky'amaanyi. Wabula ne program yennyini the Uganda we want osobola okuwuliriza n'okulaba programs ez'abakugu abakulu betuze nga tukyaza emabega ng'ogenda ku YouTube n'oteekamu the Uganda we want. Butelevu ojja kubanga programs oziraba n'abakulu bye boogedde ojja kuba ng'obiwulira. So tosaanye kusigalira mabega n'okutegera n'okumanya mu ngeri y'emu n'ofumiitiriza ku Uganda gy'oyagala ne ki ky'olina okukola ng'abakugu tubakuteerayo ne ku mutimbagano ogwo ogwa YouTube n'osobola okubafuna. Abali emitala w'amayanja nga mutugoberera ku www.imc.ug nammwe tusiimira ddala mwebale kutugoberera kyemukola ky'amaanyi nnyo. Okay, lunaku olwaleero tugenda kusooka tuggyewoko ebiri mu ggwanga erya Nigeria. Nigeria decides 2023. Bagenze mu kalulu ku lunaku lwabadde lwa 6. Ab'e Nigeria basemba okulonda mu 2019 naye nga balina obukulembeze obuzibu ennyo obukambwe ennyo mu bwabakulembera mpaka 1999. Obukulembeze bwe baayita obuli dictatorial in nature, obw'okululinga by decree, nga omukulembeze yasalawo. Kati bwe bakivaamu bazze nga bakyusa abakulembeze bwabanga bakuwadde omukisa ebisanja 2 kasabiggwako ng'ogenda. That's why you couldn't see President Muhammad Buhari coming back, even though he wanted, but he couldn't convince Nigerians to stand in for the 3rd term. So olabanga, yes, at least Nigeria is attaining a dose of democracy when it comes to change of leadership. This year's election has seen 18 presidential candidates. These 18 people, they all want to be, they want to be presidents of Nigeria. And I will brief you before I introduce my guest today. Let me brief you about those who have contested for president. Of course, on Saturday, when Nigeria went into an election, they're electing for president and the vice president. And among those, there is Adebayo Adewore. Adebayo Adewore. And of course, Adebayo Adewore, of course, he's a Nigerian, and he's coming from Social Democratic Party, SDP, Social Democratic Party. And in all his campaigns, he has been, talking about democracy in there, and he wanted to see Nigeria attaining what he called a country. He used the term full of security and peace. That's what he was telling people during his campaigns. And of course, we will go to the second person, Ado Ibrahim, the second presidential candidate. Ado Ibrahim. Ado Ibrahim is, of course, as well from the Ado Ibrahim. I'm trying to look for his party here. Just give me a minute. Ado Ibrahim, yes, Malik Ado Ibrahim from Young Progressive Party, YPP. Yeah, he's from Young Progressive Party. I may not go into what he said during the campaigns because of time. And the third presidential candidate is Al-Mustafa Hamza. Al-Mustafa Hamza, of course, is from Action Alliance, AA. Is from Action Alliance, AA. Al-Mustafa Hamza. He has well contested to lead Nigeria as the president. And the fourth person is Abubakar Atiku. We will talk more about Abubakar Atiku. Abubakar Atiku, right now, he's one of the guys that opinion polls were, trying to predict probably he might become the president of Nigeria if all goes well, as the INEC is trying to, to compile everything and counting all the result, the votes to see who will lead. But if all goes well, some Nigerians are thinking that he will be the president. So that is Abubakar Atiku. We as well have Bola Tinubu. Bola Tinubu, he's, of course, he's from Buhari's ruling party. He's from Buhari's ruling party, All Progressives Congress, Bola Tinubu. So he has won some states so far. If we look at the results that have been released from INEC, he has won some states, and they are still, of course, counting. We can't say he is the president for now. We can't say that until Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria decides or comes out to declare that. Another person is Osakwe Felix. Osakwe Felix is from National Rescue Movement, from NRM, the NRM of Nigeria. Yeah, but of course not National Resistance. This one is National Rescue Movement. Hopefully some people in NRM here will not remove the resistance and put in the rescue. But Felix Osakwe is from that party. Imomalen Irene. Imomalen Irene, he's from, let me see here, from the, as well from the Alliance, All Progressive. He's from Accord, Christopher Imomalen is from Accord. Then Kachiku Dumebi, he as well contested to be the president. Let me just go through this. Abiola Latif, you'll be seeing some of these guys that I'm talking about who have contested for president in Nigeria on the screen. So I may not go into every detail because of time. Abiola Latif, of course, for him, he once said, I listened to him, he once said that we are the redemption, we are the redeemers of Nigeria, because he's from People's Redemption Party, PRP. He said he has come to redeem Nigeria. There is Nadi Charles. He also contested. Nyanywawu Daniel, he also contested. The only lady, Ojei Chwichwi, she's the only lady. In Uganda, we had 11, I think, in 2021, and we only had one lady, that is Nancy Kalembe. These guys also had one lady, Ojei. Ojei, she's from Allied People's Movement, APM, and she's a princess, by the way, as you can see from the screen. She is a princess. Sowore Omoyere also contested, and now whom I termed in the morning in our show, The Agenda on Impact FM, this man, Obi Peter, is the Bobby Wine of Nigeria, because he has pulled the support of the youth in Nigeria, and many of them turned to the voting and voting centers on Saturday because of this man's influence, Peter Obi, even though he is old. He's 61 years. There's also Umeidi Peter. He also contested. Rabial Kwakwaso, Sani Yabanji Yusuf, Adenuga Sande, and Adenuga Sande. Yeah, Adenuga Sande. So they all contested. So in total, there are 18 candidates, and the Independent National Electoral Commission has now a duty to count all the votes, and then probably by Wednesday or Thursday, they'll be able to let us know who has won the election. And of course, they have to count results, votes from 176,846 polling units. So you could see, because so far they have received 67,170 results. That's what they have so far received, and they are yet to announce the third time. Probably tomorrow morning we will be hearing that. Yeah. So, but based on the observers and opinion polls, they think these three guys one of them might lead Nigeria. That is Peter Obi, the 61-year-old man from Labour Party, and Abeka. In 2019, he was second in the election that was held in Nigeria, where we saw President Muhammad Buhari winning that on 55%, and I think he got 41% in 2019. So he has come back again, and he said that he has a covenant with Nigeria. And also Bola Tinubu, 70 years old, from All Progressives Congress, APC. So let's wait and see. And from that, let me welcome my guest today. I'm privileged to host Tayebwa, James Bamwenda. Not the other Tayebwa. This time is this Tayebwa, whom you're going to see. I last hosted him here in 2021 when he was contesting for a post in Makerere. I think it was Councillor LC something. He will let me know. And now he is the assistant lecturer at Victoria University. He is a PhD student at Makerere University, and as well a researcher. So he's here to share with us the kind of Uganda that he would like to see. Could you please greet our viewers, Mr. Tayebwa James?
Greetings, our esteemed viewers. I'm so humbled to be here again and to be able to share my thoughts and my views to the nation as to which Uganda would wish, particularly for myself, and for the future of the next generation. For me, I don't just look at myself, but I look at life after me. I'm a parent now. I have kids. Everything I do, I'm planning for their future, empowering them and enabling them to have a favorable environment to compete favorably with 45 other million Ugandans. So that's my duty. And of course, the other details we can discuss as we move forward. But I'm so delighted and glad to be here again to share my views and to have a conversation with fellow Ugandans.
Well, thank you so much for creating that time to come and share with us the kind of Uganda that you envision. Yeah. Let me borrow a few minutes from our menu. Yeah. And we talk about Nigeria. Yeah. You had me introducing that they went to an election over actually registered voters, we are 93 million people, and over 90 million people went in, voted on Saturday. And one of the things that that amazed me is the turn up of the young generation. We saw that in 2021, general elections in Uganda. We have just witnessed it in Kenya. We saw a number of young people turning up for elections. It's the same that has just happened in Nigeria. What does this speak to you in politically, socially, and economically?
I would just say that I see a transition, especially seeing that young people are enthusiastic, passionate about affairs, government or governance, because governance is the strongest pillar of a society. It appropriates resources, it plans, and it effects. So once youth start paying attention and giving due attention that is needed to the governance of their society, it is thus a clear indication that now they are starting to take their space. They are starting to attach importance to decisions that govern, that manage their affairs. So to me, I see, when I look at the statistics that you are giving, when you see 93 registered voters and 90 million turning up to vote, to me, that's about 98% turn up. I think in the last election, we had a 50% turn up in Uganda here. In Kenya, it was about 60%. So 99% of people turning up to vote, it means now there's a conscientization. People value or attach importance to politics. They know that politics is very central to their being. They know that politics decides what they take as government is people for the people, at least in the democratic senses. People for the people. You enable the politicians to go and occupy spaces to decide on your behalf. So they know that their vote matters. They know that once they take a civic duty of going to the polls and choosing the leaders they deserve, I hope the decision that they have made, 90% turn up, 99% turn up, is telling that the decision they make or they made on Saturday has an effect, has the capacity to change their trajectory. Of course, there are some dynamics. There is always this saying that this is Africa. There are some other things that play out that could easily compromise the quality of the outcome of that exercise. I'm a student of politics. I follow dynamics of society. I know sometimes it's not about the numbers that go to the polling stations. Sometimes it's who manages the process. So I pray that in Nigeria, Independent National Electoral Commission for Nigeria, the people who have been charged with that very important task, make the most right decisions by according power or the responsibility for those people who have been unanimously agreed on by Nigerians, because for them they are just custodians of that process. But most importantly, if I'm to just talk about Nigeria as a country, I see progress and I see hope. Firstly, the outgoing president, Buhari.
President Buhari.
Yes, he was in opposition when he contested against Jonathan Goodwill. He was in opposition. He won him. And Jonathan Goodwill had just served 4 years because he inherited a president that had deceased. So they contested and he won, and Jonathan Goodwill conceded defeat it is quite uncommon. Okay, there have been trends in Africa where you see some presidents concede defeat, but that one was not so much expected, especially in Nigeria, looking at its history.
And leading just after 4 years.
4 years.
And then you're like,
I'm
heading home.
Yeah, let me just retire and go and do other things. So you can see a story of hope. You can see a story of progress. And I give it to Nigeria. I give it to Buhari for accepting the people's mandate, the provision of their constitution, and giving way. To me, that's progress. At least that's what I can say. The numbers are quite telling. 99% or 98% showing up to the polls. To me, that's a statement.
Yeah, and before the election,
Yes.
that was on Thursday, the First Lady, she came out and she said, she apologized to the Nigerians and she said, please, our people, forgive my husband for all the wrongs he has done, for all the insecurities he has caused. And, and that to me, I was like, a First Lady coming out one day, she confirmed that they have accepted, they can't come back. They are heading home, but they have the love for their country.
It's just a simple statement to let Nigerians know that they are humans, like the rest of the 180 million Nigerians. Their population is now 100 and...
It's close to 200.
200, yeah, 190 something. That we are like you, we are human. We can make mistakes. Where we have erred, please pardon us. But let Nigeria move forward. To me, it is a sign of humility and just acknowledging that they are humans like any other Nigerian.
Yeah, actually, there are 213.4 million people. 213.4 million people.
The most populous nation in the African continent. So, but 93 million registered voters and 90 showing up the polls. To me, that's a statement.
Yeah. Well, I know Nigeria will be one of our case study. You are a researcher. Will be one of our case study when we are talking about the kind of Uganda that you envision in line with leadership and governance. Probably Nigeria might chip in, but let's go back to our menu. Our viewers, this is the Uganda we want. Of course, we had to talk about Nigeria because they went into an election and it's very big because Nigeria, I think we are in good terms with Nigeria as a country. We have an embassy in there. They have an embassy here. So it was good to talk about Nigeria and to pray that the election process goes on well, because that would be our hope and our prayer in line with that. Now, back to you, in line with the Uganda we want now. Who is Tayebwa James Bamwenda?
I would just simply say James Tayebwa Bamwenda is quite a number of so many things. Like you introduced to me, I teach some students, fellow Ugandans at Victoria University. I do research as a way of contributing society, because the research is about generation of knowledge and knowledge which is turned into facts that inform policy and other development plans. But also I'm a student. I'm a PhD student at Makerere University, and I'm focusing it on social safeguards and political decisions, the geopolitics, but particularly social safeguards. And I think it somehow so much falls into the issue we are trying to discuss, but we can get that later. So the Tayebwa James is a full package. It's quite so many things. You also hinted on some political engagements, because I was here before. But I think I have crossed that chapter now into this other part of life, trying to create some impacts within my domain.
Where were you born?
I'm born of Ntungamo district.
Okay, In the western
part of Uganda.
Uganda.
Yeah, I was raised by my dad, who is alive, but I lost my mom. I think I was 10 years, yeah, so many years ago. I went to some primary school in Tungamo. I went to some secondary school in...
Just to remember their names. Would love to hear those names.
The names of the schools I went to.
Your nursery or kindergarten or primary, if they're still there.
I think they are there. I think in nursery, there was some Muslim school around the town of Rubare. Rubare Muslim school. Then I briefly went to Rubare primary school. Before I went to Chempene Rugarama primary school. That's where my dad is born. I was staying briefly with my grandparents.
Okay.
Then I went to Rubare primary school. When I was around P3, I went to Chitunga boarding primary school, which is in now Kajara County. I think Mujishamuntu. It is their foundation school, Chitunga boarding. Yeah, from Chitunga, I was slightly a bright student. I passed. I went to Gaze High School, where I did my O-level and partly A-level. Yeah, but then, because we lost our mom when I was still young, things started messing up. There was some destabilization in our family structure. We left in Tungamo. We came and settled here in Kampala, and then partly Chivoga. So things did not so work out well with my dad financially. I think was a bit disoriented or disorganized by the loss of the wife. So I had quite a number of years out of school, about 6 years, trying to hustle around in town. So I had to pick up myself. I got some small job at Makerere University in the library. So I hustled through that. I had to go back to finish HSC. I think that was around 2009. And I ended up enrolling for a Bachelor of Social Sciences at Makerere University. I finished in 2014. That's when I graduated. But as you can see, the trend of time, I was much older than most of the colleagues that we are with for the bachelor's course. So around that same time, immediately after graduation, I got married with my beautiful wife, Prosi. Yeah, we have 2 kids now.
Well done.
Yeah, so from there, I enrolled for a master's. I've done a master in social sector planning and management. I've done a postgraduate diploma in environmental impact assessments. I think, so you can see, but I've also been involved with politics at Makerere University, because that's where I've had much of my life. So basically, that's it with my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Olulimi dwo olutegeera olw'ewammwe.
Teri.
Babuuzeeko tuwulire.
Abanyantunga
mu ne muzeerabira ennimi zammwe.
I understand that this is a national TV, so I will take an opportunity to greet my, what I could call them, my language mates or tribes mates. I'm not tribal. Maybe one thing I should also hint on before I greet my language mates is that I got married to a Musoga, so I'm nationalistic in nature. So
you are nationalistic.
Yeah.
And linguistic.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I can speak Lusoga, I can speak Luganda, I can speak some other languages.
Okay.
So abanya-Uganda bakugamba Olunyankore n'abakura ningesha n'abaramusya nashemererwa kuja hano ya kuganira na fellow Ugandans. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, well, it's good to see how life can shape a human being. I wanted to ask something, but let me skip it for today. I might ask it some other time. Okay. So now, when you look at our country, Uganda, are you satisfied the way it is? Is the Uganda we are in the kind of Uganda that when you go back home with your 2 kids, with your beautiful wife, as you have described, when you travel to Ntungamo to see your dad, or when you travel to see your relatives or anyone, are you really satisfied and say, yes, this is the Uganda that I want to live in?
I would say yes and no, depending on, I will speak both as a scholar and of course as a Ugandan. And of course, actually, my education projection is a bit based on my personal life, the experiences I've gone through, that I pay attention to some details. Firstly, when we are growing up, we grew up in an agricultural society, and it was a bit mixed. There are some people who are focusing on crop growing, some were into animal rearing. And around that time, people had started transiting from the traditional practices to modernized farming practices. If I can recall well, in my very, I would say, childhood life, we had about 50 Frisian cows. Okay, I think they are a bit cross, not Frisian per se. Around that time, there was a dairy system, dairy corporation. We had a system whereby we would milk our cows, take it to the dairy, sign into their vouchers, the documents. We would supply the milk in the mornings, evenings, but we would pick that the payment, the pay of pick the rewards of the process of reposting that milk at the end of the month. They would sign for your voucher, you go to the bank, get your pay. But it was a well-structured system that they would even advance you some incentives, like loans. They would give you some farming equipment, like bicycles to take the milk, the milking cans, the calicides. So you would see a structured way of doing things. So around that time, there was a transition. And it's this transition that I really actually would want to so much focus on. I remember in the late 80s and mid 90s, there was what we call a structural adjustment program, which was being initiated by the World Bank or the Bretton Woods institutions. So they introduced new policies, their new outlook, which has informed Uganda's journey since then. So they brought democratization. Remember, our history was so much marred with dictatorial, militaristic governments, and now we transited to democratization. There was privatization, there was liberalization of the economy, there were districtization, or what we call decentralization. There are so many structural adjustments or structural programs that were introduced that have since changed our trajectory. And it's that change that I have some problem with, because it changes our ideology. Formerly, the premising of our nation is grounded in something called, we are a bit staggering, we are a bit lost, we are not clearly defined, but it was some bits of socialism, but there are also some bits of democratization. You would see a presence of a government in trying to effect change. They are the ones who are behind those dairy cooperatives, your cooperative societies, your other the work unions, trade unions. Like would see
in simple terms, you could feel the government. You could feel the presence of the government.
Exactly. Now, the introduction of these SAPs, the structured adjustment programs, tilted the balance. Now, there was less of government and more of the private sector. So there are some brands of, you would hear words like private-public partnerships, but most importantly, they wanted to give power, and this is now the liberal mindset, the westernization of things, the capitalistic mindset. Let people take charge, let them make ends meet, let them lead the economy. The government only comes in to do the regulation bit and maybe, the controls. But let there be less of government, there be more of people being at the center of making decisions, doing business, and the government only comes in to support, okay? With the policy and, of course, the other regulative attributes. So, now, around that same time, to me it is a story, and I want you to pay attention. Around that time, us who used to take milk to the dairy sector was privatized, it was liberalized. We had a structured way of doing business. Now, you'd see so many small-scale dairy operators coming into our area buying milk. Now, the beauty about this cooperative society is that there was a clear regulation of price. You would know that in the dry, in the dry or in the wet seasons, because in the dry there's always
this will be the price.
The milk amounts will go down because there's scarcity of food and milk and water for the animals. But in the wet season, because there's print of grass, and so the milk production will go high. So these organizations would come to regulate the excessive. Actually, they would find a way of keeping the milk and making they get market for it, making sure they get market for it. Now, when these small scale private arrangements came into being, that structure was completely dismantled. In the wet season, we would milk like 100 liters. You get to the selling point, you find that they only can take 10 liters or 20 liters or 50. But at the price they determine, you don't have a say.
It's now them who determines the price. It's no longer the cooperative.
Now, the economics we studied in A level comes into the factors of demand and supply.
And the supply, yes. When the demand.
So now the issues with the pricing. You have no control. For you go milk your cows, pay the people who are looking after the animals, buy the acaricides, do everything. But when you get to the market, the milk cannot take it because they also have to sell it somewhere, so they will say they don't have the market. So it disrupted the old order because they opened up space for the capitalists. And the intention of a capitalist is to make a profit. They don't care about these processes that you go through, you as a farmer or the animal rearer, to put this milk into their cans. Okay? Their concern is about profit. So, to get back to your question, what Uganda would I want? I said to you that I wouldn't want a Uganda for myself because now I'm aged. Not so old, but at least I've seen a lot of things happen. I've lived life. I really don't think I would want life for myself. I can live with what is. That's why I said I'm so much focusing the Uganda I want for my children. I would want to see a situation where systems are in place, where institutions have been built through clear policy frameworks, through deliberate and very intentional government interventions, where we would be sure of stability, to know that if A plus B equals 2, and that's a formula that would be tomorrow and a year after and 10 years thereafter, whereby this level of uncertainty, instability of the market environment kind of cripples growth to some extent, in my view, from the point of view where I stand. So what I would of course expect from a government, and which is very important, of course, reading from where we started, the Nigerian elections. Why are people participating in deciding who leads them? They express their thoughts, their feelings, their expectations, their interests through the ballot.
The ballot.
Now, once they choose you to be their president, you have a duty through your manifesto, through the collective interests of fellow Nigerians. Because even if you go through with 50%, or even if we go through with 90%, you have been voted by Nigerians or Ugandans who have diverse backgrounds, who have different interests, who have different expectations. So how do you craft a policy framework that that collects all these views and compounds them into a policy that would serve the interests of every single Ugandan, young, old, poor, rich, Karamajong, Chifumbira? I've had a chance to travel this Uganda. I would say we are more or less the same. Sometimes people try to create different scenarios, but we are the same people. Our aspirations are the same. A parent from Zombo, at the farthest corner of Uganda, towards Congo, or Koboko, or Kisoro. A parent would want to see their kids attain some good education and be able to fend for themselves. Okay? That's a prayer for your mother, wherever she is.
Whether she's in Kitugum,
it doesn't matter whether she's
in
Uganda or Mugisu, whatever. The prayer of that mother is to see a Mulanzi grow into a reasonable being who can fend for himself, but also add value to the development of his country. Okay? So when politicians are given responsibility or charged with this task through the ballot, they have a duty to serve the interests of every Ugandan, regardless of where they stand or where they come from or whatever their tribal religion is. Okay? To me, that's Uganda we would wish.
Now, these leaders that you're talking about that we trust with with my ballot, that I trust with my ballot or with my vote, what is it that they forget to play their role? What goes wrong?
I don't think so much goes wrong, but just take you back to where I started. The alteration of our ideological setup as a country kind of tilts the balance, because capitalism, in raw terms, is a man-eat-man society. Everybody is looking out for their best interests.
Okay.
So, and I think there was a strategic error that could have been created at the inception of, or at the entry point of these of adopting these policies, because the government fortified or gave out some of its rights, especially on regulation. Because the government.
So, which kind of government are we talking about that allowed that to come into our country?
I've been following some conversations. Even the president himself. I'm academic in this regard. I'm not partisan, but he has also come to admit there were some strategic errors, like when they were the selling of some government parastatals, like the Uganda Commercial Bank. He admitted recently that he was misadvised. It was a strategic error to privatize such a bank, because it creates some loopholes for people to be taken advantage of by international players. Now you see, we are in a very volatile situation whereby now globalism has taken a very central stage, that it is completely killing away or taking a space for the sovereign states, especially now in the third world countries. You find that decisions are made from somewhere in Geneva or in Washington, D.C., and they have a direct impact on a country called Uganda, and the president has nothing to do about it. I can give, I think, one of the things that are quite glaring and are taking us by storm is the conversation on homosexuality. These are things that the president of a country called Uganda is hand-tied, because much of the, we cannot raise all the revenue to run the nation called Uganda. So
are you saying that this issue, this virus, as I call it, or vice, as a country, we are tied up? We may be forced to accept it indirectly or directly.
So do you want to tell me that the president doesn't know what's happening?
But he said he doesn't believe in it, he will not accept.
Okay.
But that's what he said.
If you have been seeing the things that I see, most schools have these things. They are being promoted. It's not a habit that you wake up one day and you realize that I have, of course, there are so many evil things. There are so many criminal offenses that happen, like murder. We have lived with them. But at least you know that once you're caught in that case, there are clear punitive measures taken. But here, and of course, the issue has always been about the promotion. Why, if it was a natural thing, it was like any other normal crime, like people learn to smoke and do drugs and those kind of things. Have you ever seen anyone recruiting people to do drugs?
No.
So why are they recruiting? And of course, the debate on human rights. By the time you get funding from some circles, from the Bretton Woods institutions, there are some conditions that you must abide to, observation of human rights and that kind of stuff. I really don't want to get so much into detail with that kind of conversation, but what I'm trying to tell you is that our leaders generally are challenged, because we are fighting against an industry that is moneyed, that has a lot of money, and they will use all means possible to advance their agenda. Okay? So, in that case, if you're president of a country called Uganda, you want money to run the affairs of the state, what would you do? Sometimes they have to kill an eye to let some things pass. Not because he would wish to see such things happen in the country, but because they are entrenched.
Isn't there anything really that we can do as we are signing out on the first episode, and we allow Dr. Jesus Wada to come in with Rwasa Mayinja? But isn't there anything that really we can do to collect that our leaders cannot be overpowered?
I think that's where I mentioned to you that I think the entry of this now ideological shift was brought in at a time when maybe the leaders were not very prepared for them, and they gave in wholesale without studying the likely challenges that would come from too much opening up. And now the repercussions, they are here. We live with them. I don't know whether we have the capacity to track them back, but of course, the government has a role. Because, like, for instance, this excessive this excessive opening up, too much liberalization in the education sector, in the health sector, in the predominantly public sectors, what we would call public services, education. How do you liberalize education? How do you liberalize health? This is because if you want to build a nation, you invest in education. You invest in health. You don't give room, and you do not, like, there has been a debate on too much, when we are taking back kids at school.
Yeah,
School fees.
We are going to come back with episode 2, and we talk about that. If you want to build a nation, you've got to invest in the education. You've got to invest in the health sector. And how can we do the investment? I'll return with Mr. Tayebwa James Bamwenda, sharing his views on the kind of Uganda that he envisions. You've heard it from him. What are you going to do as a citizen of this country to ensure that you achieve the kind of Uganda that you and I would love to live in?